is l'ami Kali. I passed about half a mile ahead of him. Wasn't expecting to see him this morning, and nice to pass ahead of him. Means that I'm back in touch with the rest of the fleet, which is great. Had a really challenging night, evening. Early yesterday evening, I lost all power, everything, completely, totally and utterly, nothing. No instruments, no pilot, no comms, absolutely nothing at all. And it took me 3 hours to sort the problem out, but then also I just had to reset absolutely everything, and I had a problem with my rudder reference unit that popped off in all of the chaos that ensued. So I just spent 3 hours drifting around trying to sort this problem out, and lost contact with Isabel then. So it's nice to find the breeze again this morning. Just heard from the race committee that they might be going to alter the course because there's a massive low out in the West Atlantic coming barreling in towards us. Big breeze on the bottom of that, maybe 50 knots, and the fleet is going to be split, some above it, some below it. So it'll be interesting to see what the committee do. It's a tough decision because Charlie is so far ahead. How do you now create a course that doesn't favour some and penalise others? The answer is I don't think you can. However, they need to be pragmatic because none of us want to break our boats, and 50 knots is not a place that you ever want to be. So waiting to hear from them, and we'll see what happens.
Well, a very good evening. Welcome to Les Sables d'Olonne on the west coast of France, the home of the Vendee Globe, and of course now the home of the Vendee Arctic. And the big news this morning was the decision to alter the course, to miss out the passage to the north of Iceland. That's always going to be a problem with this particular course. Even in the summer, these big Atlantic lows come barreling across the racecourse. So that was the reason for having this waypoint marked to the east of Iceland in the very first place. That allowed the race direction to have options and to change the course as we have indeed done. The course distance remains the same. The Atlantic waypoint is moved to the west about 120 miles, and so the course distance remains about 3,300 miles. And of course, the other problem at the top of Iceland is not only you have a lee shore on the north coast of Iceland, but also we have this AEZ, this exclusion zone to the north. And so really the fleet is compacted, or the race course is compacted up there. So that was the main reason for, one of the main reasons for altering the course. And this, of course, is a low risk option, this race, because the qualification process is now so intense. It's race after race. There's no possibility for any kind of damage to boats. A lot of these skippers are on very, very tight budgets now. They're putting boats on the water to attract sponsors because that's what they have to do. And so any kind of damage to teams in terms of costs of time or money is absolutely critical. In the meantime, Charlie Dallin is leading, more than 70 miles ahead of Jeremy Bayou. The fleet is tending to start lining up more or less on the similar kind of course heading up to the north. The exception being Louis Duke, who's out in the east. He's only about 20 miles west of the island of Lewis in Scotland, and he's still doing quite nicely. But let's have a look first of all at the classements, the standings. We had one or two minor problems with the standings coming up on the website, so I'll give you the 7 o'clock update, and Charlie Dallin was leading. He is 65.7 miles ahead of Jeremy Biu. In third, Thomas Rion is 116 miles behind the leader. Then in fourth, Benjamin Ferry still holding in there quite nicely. He is 142 miles behind the leader. In fifth, Girek Soure on freelance.com. Louis Burton in sixth on Buro Valley. Antoine Cornic, as we spoke about a second ago, he's close to the Scottish coast, but he's in seventh, going well, and 235 miles behind the leader. Benjamin Dutroux is in eighth. Ninth is Louis Duc. In 10th, Alan Rura has made a good move or got some speed on Hublot out in the west. That seems to have worked for him quite nicely. Eric Bellion is in 11th. In 12th, Nico Lundven, who we're hoping to catch up with on our live this evening on Banque Populaire. He's going well. He's doing about 9 or 10 knots this evening. Isabel Josh, who we spoke to earlier, is not far behind in 13th. Damien Sagan, 14th. Giancarlo Padotti, 15th. 16th, Sebastian Marset. And then in 17th, Pip Heron Medallia. Dennis Van Wenberg, still out in the east, is in 18th. Arnaud Boissy, 19th. Roman Atanasio, 20th. 21st is Fabrice Amadeo. 22nd, Conrad Coleman. And 23rd at the moment, Kojiro Shiraishi. Manu Kuzan, who's had problems, is in 24th. So that is the standings just now. Still a good mix in between the fast foiling boats and the daggerboard boats. Still a good mix down through the fleet. Now, the weather is obviously the key topic just now. And we're going to have a look and see how the weather is evolving with their little animation. And you'll see that the solo skippers are now sailing in a southerly flow. It's really well established, a bit more for the sailors behind, which is why you've seen a little bit of compression with the skippers catching up some miles on the leaders. You can see the zone of light winds to the east, which splits the group in the west from the east. That little zone is dissipating, and it will let some of the boats in the east catch up into the main part of the fleet. But this is this really big low pressure which is forming to the southwest of the fleet. That moves east and builds all the time. It's moving to the northeast of Iceland, and that gives these really strong winds for those in the south, probably between 45 knots up to 50 knots in the gusts. And the centre moves up and sits to the east of Iceland, and that's really what generates this north-northwesterly wind close to the land. It backs to the northwest and west as time moves on, and then it builds over the course of Saturday. In the south of the system, we're seeing 40, 45 knots, and Saturday is probably going to be the worst part for the skippers, and then the low does move away. So that's the weather situation. We are hopefully going to join up with Nico Lundven, but in the meantime, we did catch up earlier on the day with the Franco-German skipper Isabel Joschk. She was very happy with the speeds that she was making. She'd had a hard time in the two zones of light airs that the skippers had all had to go through. She made a move out to the west and was going well, and this was Isabel Joschk earlier on today. That's okay. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine. Wind has come again, and right now it's boat is going fast, and the sea is pretty narrower than it could be. I'm good.
Now listen, give us your reaction to this change of course. You're not going to the north of Iceland.
Yes, I'm not surprised because we have seen since 3 days that the conditions would be very difficult in the north, but also in the south of Iceland. So I'm not surprised at all.
I'm saying, how have the first 3 or 4 days of the race been for you?
So it was not easy actually. It was like pushing on a button and then there was wind, and pushing on another button and there was no wind at all. So it was not simple to adapt all the time, but I'm quite happy that on the second time where there was no wind at all, I could turn to the west part of the fleet where I wanted to go, and there I could find a little wind finally. So that's okay for me.
And are you enjoying it, the race so far?
Yes, right now I'm enjoying. I had a very nice brunch 1 hour ago, and I think I'm going to take a nap after this call. So yeah, I'm good.
So it's Isabel Joshka on MACSF. She's in 14th position just now. She's only 5 miles from Alan Rura. Now, hopefully we are joining Nico Lundvind on board the Banque Populaire. He was in 11th during the course of the day. Nico, can you hear us? You're joining us in Les Sables d'Olonne.
Yes, I heard you very well.
How nice to hear your voice.
It's okay, you heard me well or not?
Yeah, loud and clear, Nico. Tell us, what's your reaction to the course change?
Perfect.
What's your reaction to the course change, Nico?
So yes, I think the course change is a good idea because to be honest, this morning when I looked carefully at the weather forecast, the weather forecast confirmed that alongside the east coast of Iceland, the forecast is almost 40, maybe 50 knots, with no possibility to find a quiet place. I was a bit worried about that. And just a few minutes after, I saw the race direction message. So yes, for me, it's a good decision, even if it's not going to be easy, because already tomorrow we have the first low pressure to cross. So with slight wind in the middle, but around the wind can be also 50 knots. So we need to be quite careful about that. And then it's going to be many transitions close to the mark we have to round in Iceland. So with light wind, with gust, so it's going to be kind of nightmare for the next 2 days. And then on our way south, it will be a bit more easy, I guess.
So Nico, how are you preparing for this for the next 2 days or 3 days?
So I try to have some rest, even if it's not so easy, because you need to spend many times to adjust the sails and to also spend many times to look carefully at the weather forecast to try to make the right choice, which is not really not easy in this situation we have. So yes, time is quite busy on board Banque Populaire.
And are you happy with your race so far, with your strategy?
Well, I would say 50-50, because at the beginning, the first or the second day of the race, when we had the first anticyclonic ridge to cross, the conclusion is that I didn't make the right decision. So then there is some boats far away. And since that, I would say that my strategy is not so bad, but still lots of work to do. It's not finished. What is good is that I'm able to fight with other boats, plenty of other boats around me, like Commun Solom, Eric Bellion, which is also a dagger boat. And we were able to speak at the VHF yesterday, this morning. And there is some other boat around me, which is quite cool, quite fun. Even if the foiling boats are much faster in this condition, but at least it's good to have some boats around today.
Very good. Anyway, that's good news, Nico. Fantastic to speak with you. Sail safe and sail fast over the next few days, and hopefully we'll catch up with you. And remember, it's not your boat, so don't break it.
Thank you. See you later.
So there we go. That's Nico Lundvin finishing up our show this evening. Join us again tomorrow night, 7:30 here in Les Sables d'Olonne, 6:30 in England, 5:30 UTC, and join us for the Big English Flash.
Nous avons juste à côté Pépin, la main ferrée, monoyeur du haut for a job qui a fait un début de course incroyable, qui a été bien plus intelligent que tout le monde. Voilà, comme quoi hein, sert pas grand chose d'avoir un bateau rapide si on va pas au bon endroit. Je crois qu'on a été nombreux à se faire un peu piéger par la dorsale, puis le front là sur les premières 48 heures. Voilà, c'est marrant de le croiser là. Alors, on va essayer de faire un petit zoom. Hop. Après 3 jours de course. Voilà, sinon tout va bien à bord de Linged Out. Ça y est, j'ai sorti la doudoune. Il faisait un peu froid cette nuit. Et voilà, tout roule. Je crois qu'il y a la DC qui envisage peut-être un petit changement de parcours avec la météo qui se dégrade pour une partie de la flotte. Alors j'imagine que la solution elle va pas être simple à trouver pour qu'il y ait quelque chose de cohérent pour l'ensemble de la flotte. On verra. Nous normalement on passe pas trop mal, mais c'est pas le cas pour tout le monde. On verra. Sinon en ce moment le vent est un petit peu instable. Voilà, j'ai mis une voile qui me permettait de bien gérer les conditions qu'on a en ce moment. Voilà. Sinon, Charlie est quand même bien devant. Ça va être compliqué d'aller chercher. Il a quand même une belle avance. Mais bon, on lâche rien à bord de Linged Out. Voilà, je vous fais un petit tour d'horizon. On n'a pas vu beaucoup de ciel bleu hein, pour l'instant. On a plutôt du gris depuis le début de parcours. Voilà, on va beaucoup le soleil. Allez, à plus tard.
Alors je vous explique, il y a un monstre qui nous arrive dessus. Le truc rouge c'est du vent très fort et nous on est là. Et là, hop, et ça nous envahit. Voilà, donc la direction de course a décidé d'arrêter la course au passage d'une ligne et de nous mettre à l'abri. On ne sait pas trop, ils sont en train de regarder pour l'instant. Travail dur, je suis sûr, pour trouver des solutions. Et voilà, il y a déjà un petit parfum d'Islande. Parce que regardez, il est 3h du mat. 3h du mat et il fait jour. Pareil, on a l'impression que le jour se lève. Mais en fait, c'est comme ça depuis des heures. Donc, avec Hubert, on attend que le vent nous croque dessus, donc on a mis toute la toile là. Et puis on est hyper vigilant dès que le vent arrive. Parce que ça, il n'y a pas de transition quoi, ça va vraiment arriver comme ça. Donc je suis sur mes gardes. J'espère que tout va bien se passer. je discute pas mal avec les autres skippers qui sont autour de moi. Là, on se regroupe tous, évidemment. Et voilà, on ne sait pas trop ce qui va se passer. Donc on se concentre sur la porte que l'on doit franchir. Et après, sur la suite, en tout cas, il va falloir qu'on réagisse en bon marin. Voilà. Et la course va être sûrement mise entre parenthèses pour qu'on soit tous en sécurité. Allez, bon matin, salut!
Yes, premier sur la ligne de neutralisation. On verra sous quelle forme ça prend, mais en tout cas ça s'est fait, ça s'est pris. Et voilà, une fois encore à Pillard de nuit, parce que ce bateau ne sait faire que ça. Mais comme ici, la nuit il fait jour, et on t'a bien eu mon petit bateau. On t'a bien eu, on a fini par arriver de jour. Il a fallu monter jusqu'en Islande pour y arriver. T'as cru que t'allais nous faire une arrivée de nuit, et ici il fait jour. On t'a bien eu petit. Allez, à plus.
Little chance for a small update before it gets a little bit exciting there. I am in the calm before the storm. There's been quite a bit of an update overnight on what we're doing with the racing. We have been told by the race committee that we are going to get to Iceland and then suspend racing for at least 24 hours. So let's have a quick look at the grid and see why. We are looking at my small grid file there. It's small because I'm conserving data. And here you can see the fleet of boats, the pack that I'm in just there. And there is the centre of a low pressure that's tracked in from over here. There's another little centre up there. Those two are going to join eventually. So there's a big kind of blobby centre of it there. So I sailed in here where the lines are close together. That's where it's windy. And now I'm in the bit with no wind. I've just jibed and I'm heading north. As we go through the day, the low pressure is moving north as well. And you can see those two little centres joining up there, and these isobars getting closer together there and following up towards Iceland. And then because the isobars are close together, you can see the red arrows on there, so that is 40 knots of wind there. If it's 40 on the grid, it's going to be more on the water, so I think I'm going to see 45, maybe gusting 50 this afternoon. And that low pressure just follows us all the way up to Iceland. And we're going to stop at this gate there. Let's just take a little look out here. It's very light, but total clouds cover. It has got quite cold and I know it's going to be nasty, so I put my awning down. I'm quite pleased. First time I've used the awning so far. And oh, there's a sky that says I'm going to eat you alive. It's all very, very grey and damp out here. So the breeze is building and I'm just waiting for it all to kick off. I think I've got about another hour or so of sort of calm conditions like this, and then the breeze is going to build and build quite quickly. My biggest concern at the moment is I want to get my J0, the big sail, out of the sky in good time, but then it's a timing thing, because obviously I want to push on with it as much as I can, because that will get me ahead of the low but also keep me racing, but I want to give myself enough time to get it down and secured if I am going to see that much wind. For now it's a waiting game, so I'm going to go down below, going to make a cup of tea, I'm going to have a 20-minute nap and wait for Armageddon.